I'll be back and get power supply. So if you guys could remind people, for those of you who are here, remind other people kind of what to do and practice your safety and mental health. Do me a favor, you guys, and try and keep that 6 feet. So if somebody's grabbing something, hang off and let them do it, and then walk in there, please. I will be adamant about that. If you don't practice that, I will ask you to leave. Sorry, I'm going to be using this one over here. Yep. What I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to be sitting over here. If you want to put your stuff over on there, wash that one off, or do you have some bags and stuff like that? That's great. You're prep. Like how she's walking with 2 hands. A lot of you on your list did say use 2 hands. Keep carrying it. And I'm recording. We got another minute still before we go. Okay, we're missing about 2 people. Of course, I do all this stuff in my eye picture. All right, so those of you who've been here for a little while, I'm going to kind of repeat and kind of do the same thing. What I ask of you is that you wash your hands when you first come in here, and that you wash your hands when you leave. You do the full happy birthday to you. You're washing your hands. Make sure that you use lots of water and kind of rinse it off. You can also use the bathroom that's out there. I'm not recommending that you guys use gloves. I need to use gloves because I'm interacting with a lot of you, but I ask that if you use gloves, that you use them correctly. The great thing about gloves is you can kind of sanitize them by doing this. I'm not normally going to squirt 70% ethanol on my hands because at the end of the day, they'll be cracked and all that kind of stuff. Please just try and stay in your area. Walk slowly, try and talk slowly as well. Don't do that, but I don't want to hyperventilate either. Again, when you're walking, control your hands. Walk like this, hold your hands in here. The dirtiest thing, and again, this is not necessarily clinical. What I'm talking about is biomanufacturing. So I am making a drug that's going to go out to many people. That vaccine that's going to go to you is going to be made by somebody like me, or possibly you, or that's trained by me, and you want to have that be as clean as possible. So again, the people who are making that drugs are going to be gloved up. They're going to hold their hands like this. When you put your hands underneath your waist, they get dirty. Anytime you touch something dirty and your hands are dirty, and ideally you would have to retouch them. Ideally, your bench tops and stuff have been sanitized and cleaned and stuff like that. That's there. So we'll practice that a little bit. What I'm going to do is, ideally what happened with all of you is you guys should have read the SOP, should be aware. I've checked through your checklist. I will go through your checklist again. When some of you did in your checklist, you may, imagine an airline pilot saying, get in the airplane, turn the engine on, fly off the runway. That's not a good checklist. You need to, even though that's correct, you need to give a little bit more information. And also, we had a misunderstanding. Sorry, that's a big position. But I told her, wipe off your desk with the blue out. And she pulled the water bottle, right? Because there's blue on the side. But I meant it's going to look blue. To me, this is blue. Sorry, I think people remind me it's aqua. But again, the Sanisol is this kind of slightly blue color in there, so you know what Sanisol is. Wiping down your desktop with water will clean it, but it won't sanitize it. Okay, you'll get rid of the soil that's there, but you won't kill the bacteria that's in it. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So the idea is you guys develop a checklist that, if you make a checklist that's 3 pages long, that's longer than the SOP to do it. But you want to have a checklist that's thorough enough that you and actually somebody who's not you can go through and follow that list. And then again, a lot of students are saying, well, Nick, I've never used a microscope before. I can't do that unless I do the microscope. And I'm sorry, I will. If you want to edit your checklist after doing this today, I will look at it. But the trouble is, we only have a certain amount of time here in the laboratory, right, in order to be safe. So I will check that out for you. Next week, I'll be having you develop a checklist. You're going to be doing some staining, and not next week, sorry, in 2 weeks. You're going to be doing some staining and looking at stuff through the microscope, so you get a chance to do that as well. Everyone has their microscopes, right? Before you leave today, you need to make a packet of kind of at-home materials. We're going to do some at-home labs. I'll give you the information for this a little bit later. The checklist for that is located up there. Hopefully, if it's ambiguous, let me know. But you get one goggle. If you have your own goggles that you're allowed to with and stuff like that, I'm okay for you to use that. 5 plates, 10 sterile loops, and if they're in the bag already, 1 foloscope. These aren't the best, but they're cheap. You can have them in yours and stuff like that. A bag and some other materials. And I'll explain kind of how to use those a little bit. I want to do the rest of this in like 10 minutes or so and give you a good hour to actually use the microscope. If you're familiar with the microscope and you used it before and you get all the information and I look at you that you're not doing something wrong, then you're done and you can go ahead and leave. You don't have to do the lab here, but you want to get the information. So pull out your camera and take lots of pictures, right? Because what you don't want to happen is you're driving home and oh, did I get a picture under oil immersion? Oh, because you're not going to be able to come back. So talk about this, find and fill out your, so what this is it's a Google document, it's a Google Word document. It's a Google Word document. I give you a template, I want you to make a copy of that template, put it in your own Google Drive, and then you're going to share the link with me. There's a number of reasons why I do that. But what you do is I give you an example in there. There's your pictures, you're going to be able to put it in there. So whenever you take a picture, I tell you the same technique. Picture, you're going to give me a little word description, and then you're going to give me a picture. Sorry, you are adults. You need to know you need to be able to use your words. You can tell I have kids because I do. You need to be able to use your words on stuff. But the great thing about pictures is they're really help. So we do a little bit of both here. And what I'm seeing in the future, whenever I do something in the laboratory nowadays, I take a picture of it. Right? So I say I did it, and then I also have a picture that did it, and it's time-stamped on my phone and everything else like that. So if I have a boss or something like that comes in, or if I have a worker, no, I did that, and I'm like, well, I was there 10 minutes ago. Look, it's not done. So pictures are great. We're in a Zoom meeting. Say hi if somebody pops up. Do that. So you guys watch the SOP, make your checklist. I'm going to do one more demo. It's going to be up here. Or I'm going to be doing it over here. If you can't see it up here and you're not sitting where he is, you can come up here and line up and you know, you're responsible for seeing. If you have particular questions on stuff, I can stop and answer them. And then what I'm going to have you guys do is you guys, after that, you guys will be able to get your materials, come up here in the slides. What I strongly recommend is that you look at something that's not bacteria. So we have some mold and other organisms up here that you can look at. And now, part of me being here as your instructor, I'm also like a coach, right? So my bad analogy is, you know, if I was your swimming coach, and I had you do the butterflies, you know how to swim, and I threw you to pools that do the butterfly, you're going to quit swimming and you're not going to do it. Butterflies that long, flop in the water, stuff like that. It's hard to do if that like me, anyways. But anyways, you know, it's hard. The reason why we're doing this validation on bacteria is it's hard. Even if you've done it before, you may have not done it right. And so I will show you some techniques on how to use, on how to look at bacteria, and we'll see. And so start out real easy, and you know, take some pictures. That way, if you don't get the bacteria, you can have pictures say, Nick, I know how to use the microscope. It's going to help you with that. I know how to use the microscope, at least for this part. All right, so using the microscope. So you would come up here, you grab a stain. So ideally, you can do a gram stain, the endospore stain, the bacteria toxide, the bacilli stain. I'm going to look at, this one's really easy to see, right? Because your sample's in there. And you know, you can use your old eye. So I'm going to pop down here. And so, see how I see the sample in there? When you look at the bacteria, you're really not going to be able to see that. So I will have carried my microscope back here with, I'm going to unplug your microscope and plug in mine. Just remember to do that. Okay, so I have my slide. So I'm going to get on and get squared away. What you guys are going to do is get some lens paper that's up in front, and you're going to take some paper towels, wipe them off with sanitize, wipe kind of the whole thing down. These guys have a shroud on them. What I'd recommend is that you put the shroud down, and what I'd recommend is that you try not to really touch these things with your eyes. So go a little bit further away, or if you have glasses, or if you have a shield like me, that's fine. You're going to sanitize this area, but you know, even if you sanitize it, if you don't touch it, then you don't have exposure. So you're going to wipe it all down. It should be moist. What you're going to do then is, so it's all ready to go, you're going to adjust the interocular distance. And so it's just like using a pair of binoculars. You see me in here, and so I can look on here. So I'm going to turn on the light. I got some light going on here. I have the objective right in the middle, and it's a pair of binoculars, and I use it till I see one image. And I know from experience that I am a 65-65. So there's a little, if you look on this, you see the little designations on there? Say yes or no. I can't do this. Okay. So I know from past, I'm 65-65. So you want to do this and you want to record kind of what you are. I'm going to ask you to take a picture of that and provide it to me. Okay. The other thing is these oculars are set up so that if you have an astigmatism, that means that one eye is in focus, the other eye is not in focus. You can still use these microscopes. What I'd recommend is that you go over here, and there's what's called a neural diopter here, and you set it to 0. I recommend everyone do that, because that way, you know, you're going to be using your glasses and stuff, or if you have your contacts on, that's fine. Can I, let me see. Do you see it there? So that's always going to be on the left-hand side. And you just set it, there's a little hatch mark, and you just set it to 0. Now this is all set up, and you know what this is. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take, you guys don't let me get through this. You're going to, this is the stage. And what you can do is on the left-hand side, if you notice this is the condenser right here, you want to have the condenser up, full up by your item. There's a rheostat up here. You can control the amount of light. You can't have too much light in here. So if you're in there and it's really bright and it's hurting your eyes, turn down the light. But again, the greater the magnification, the more light that you're going to need with that. So what I would do is move the stage all the way down. Yeah, you can follow me if you're so inclined. You're then going to take your sample. You're going to take your sample, and there's some clips in here, and the clips hold it from the side. And then you can move. There's a little set of neural diopters, so neural areas down here, so you can move it around. And what I would do is I would take. You can see where the you can see where your sample is because it's a little bit darker in color, and you can put it in there, and I can see that. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it. If you notice, I'm looking at it, and I'm going to move it all the way up, and it reaches a point where it can't go. These microscopes, we bought the good microscopes. So ideally, you can't kind of break stuff with it, but trust me, I've seen students do everything on it, especially if you use like 2 slides and stuff like that. So it's in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through the microscope, and oh, I see it. And then I'm just going to use the coarse focus. I may need to go kind of back and forth a little bit. A lot of times what I do is go a little bit forward, a little bit back, a little bit forward, a little bit back. The analogy that I use is I was surfing at Ocean Beach one time. And I got wiped out by a wave. I'm not a good surfer. I got wiped out by a wave, held under the water, and then I stand up, and I'm like in literally like 6 inches of water, oxygen deprived, and I'm like, but I was facing towards the ocean, and I'm like, where'd the land go? Where did San Francisco go? So sometimes what you want to look at is behind you. So when you're doing focus, don't just keep on going forward. It's like sometimes you got to go forward. Oh, it's not focus. You go back. And then you can actually move your sample a little bit. Sometimes that helps you. But once you get your sample in focus, boom, it's right there. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, I can't. Well, your phone will do it a lot better. I can help you with your phone, but so you'll take a picture of it. So these microscopes are what we call parafocal and paracentric. So once I get it focused in one, ideally, and this is the difference between theoretical and real life. Ideally, I move to the next higher objective. So I'm going from the 4x to the 10x. You hear the little click here? You hear that little click? And it should be my sample where it should be right in the middle, and it should basically be in focus. If you didn't see it, I did a little bit of the fine focus. This is the fine focus right here. This is the coarse focus right here. Did a little bit of fine focus. To go up to the next higher magnification, I would then go click it over, and this is the 40x lens, and it's really close. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to break the slide and stuff like that, and you move the stage down. No, don't do that. They're designed to be kind of right there. So it's all ready to go. And then, oh, I got to do a little bit of the fine focus. For oil, what you're going to do is move it over to the middle. You're then going to get some oil from, this is what we call immersion oil. We'll talk about what this is for and why we have it. You're going to take immersion oil, and then you're going to put it, take a nice drop, and put it in the middle here. And then you're going to click over. It's going to be really close, but it's not there. And what you can do is you can look on the side, and you would see that the oil is on the slide, and it makes a little meniscus, and it goes up to the objective. And that's critical that you do that, okay? These things get dirty real easy, so what you want to do is wipe off the lens with the lens paper up there. This blue liquid in here that says lens cleaner is basically Windex. You can use that to kind of help you. It shouldn't happen, but sometimes it does, is people didn't clean up after themselves last time. People didn't clean up after themselves last time. If there's oil on this, make sure that there's no oil on it. Excuse me. So make sure that there's no oil on it. Once you're done, click it back to the low. You're going to take out your sample. These slides here, you can wipe, if there's a lot of oil and stuff on it, you can wipe them off with a regular paper towel. You can use the Sanitol on them, that's fine. But ultimately, before you use it, look at it underneath. You want to wipe it down with your lens paper. Problem with using regular paper or even like your shirt and stuff like that, they release fibers. And I can't tell you how many times I have students go, oh, this is wonderful. It looks really cool, this long fibrous thing. And I'm like, yes, you found the long fibrous thing. That's not bacteria. What I want you guys to do, you guys are going to take the pictures, but I'd suggest that this is a validation. And so when we leave, you can't revalidate. So what you should do is I'm going to try as little as possible to look through your microscope, add the shield, and that will help. But you're going to take a picture using your phone. And so go up to me and say, Nick, is this what I'm looking at? And I may ask you some questions. Well, what are you looking at? What is it? Stuff like that. And then we'll kind of go over that. Do you guys have any questions? So some of you who've used the microscopes before and are really good and didn't get what you do, you're going to get done a little bit earlier. If you want to stay and help other people, I could always use the help like that. If you need to go, once I say you're validated and you're done, it's not a guarantee on the value. Evaluated and you're done. You should have all the materials that you'll be able to put it in. You still need to give me that that information. Do I need to go online and show you where the template would be? Yeah, okay, I'll do that in a second. Okay. Some of you, it's going to be the last 5 moments. If you don't get something under an oil, don't worry about it. We're going to get another chance to kind of come back here. And you're not going to fail the class because you do it. And I know all of you guys want to, there's a bunch of nurses and stuff in here, and you're OCD out the yin-yang, which is great, which is what we want nurses to be. But again, if you get upset about not seeing something, we have an hour to do it. And if you don't do it, that's fine. Go back, you're going to revisit your SOP, revisit the video and all those kind of things. And when you come back 2 weeks from now, we're going to, we need to use the microscopes to do everything in this lab. So again, I can reevaluate you on the microscope if you just real quick show me how to use it. And sometimes people need 2 or 3 times on the microscope, and in order to do that, that is fine. And you will get that chance. Any questions? You guys are so quiet. Yeah, I'm sweating. All right. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so this is 240. So if we go to home, if we go to, this is week 3, day 3, microscope validation. If we click on microscope validation, access your microscope validation document here. If you click on this, I gave access to anyone on here, so it's a little description of what this is, a template. Please don't mess up my template. And I have copies somewhere else I can redo the template stuff. And the great thing about using the template is a lot of times I can tell who made the mistakes and stuff like that, and I can go, and I will yell at you, not I won't, but what I want you to do with this template, on the template, I describe why we do this and stuff, and so this is kind of on-the-job training. Again, when you do documents in real life, you're going to be putting your names, your initials in kind of all the time. Just do it, and don't put in Nick. You want to put in your full name. Put in what it asks for. So on this guy here, is you guys did the microscope simulation. So I want to record here is your name, the date that you completed your microscope simulation, and give me roughly the amount of time that it took you to do that. If you don't remember it exactly, that's good. And this is what I call an auditing test, right? So you may say, oh, I did this simulation about a week ago, and you can look it up and say, oh, you don't look it up. You said, oh, I did it a week ago, and you're giving me that information. As an auditor, I could go in and see when you actually did this. And you may say, well, Nick, why don't you just look it up? What I'm doing here is I'm testing your truthfulness. Whenever you fill out a document, if you don't know, say, I don't know. Fill it out with it. So you're going to go in there and you're going to fill it out, and it's going to be the truth. Again, my mom was a nurse, and 2 years after she retired, again, the hospital got sued. They called her back up. They pulled out the chart, and they said, is this your signature? She's like, yes. And she's like, well, what did you do? Do you remember this date? She's like, no, I'm 65 years old. I don't remember what I had for breakfast. And you know, they look at the chart and said, "Did you do this on the chart?" And she looked at it. She had her signature in it. She recognized her handwriting. She's like, "Yes, that's what I did." But you know, she's not using stuff from memory. So again, we're kind of recording stuff here. Sorry, I gotta give myself 2 minutes. So go ahead and fill this form out. It has the SOP. I want a picture of you sanitizing your oculars. So that way, if you come to me 2 weeks from now and say, "Nick, you know, I got COVID from using your oculars," I can say, "Well, that's you sanitizing your oculars with disinfectant." So on all these things here, I have a description and I have a picture. Pull out your camera, take lots of pictures of stuff. You never know kind of what you're going to need. And it's always fun to show people kind of what you've done. But what I want to have is in focus that 40x total magnification. So your 4x objective, remember these oculars are 10x. So your total power is 10 times 4. Right? So your 4x objective, that's going to be 40 times. So your image is going to look 40 times larger. But small, 40 times larger is still small. And you still may not be able to see it. So what I want you to do is to give me a picture of that. Yes, you can put pictures in here at the very bottom. There's a picture. I have a podcast that I record on Fridays and stuff like that. If you want to come to my live show, you can come through. You're like, "Nick, I'm going to make nowhere near that." But you can do a picture, and you know, so that's just a picture of kind of what you can do. Make sure that you make it smaller and put it in there. If you put in a picture, I need to be able to see it. So when I ask for the intraocular distance, don't give me a picture like here out of focus and I can't see it. I want to be able to see that material. At any time when you're doing the lab, I'm going to walk around the lab and hopefully talk to you a little bit after I take a couple seconds break. Show me your pictures and stuff like that, and that will be good. Any questions? Kind of that same thing. So you all have your microscopes, and you're all going to come up here. Please at least get that picture of you sanitizing it and adjusting the intraocular. Let's not have a big cluster of people up here. So practice it. So if there's somebody up there, you're going to stay 6 feet away. You know, even walking by someone, try and not do that. Okay. That being said, okay, I should be. Yeah. You can unplug mine and plug yours back in. So. Record, so they keep on recording this. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's okay. You know, that's hey, that's good. You're turning it off. So. Again, take a picture of your microscope. Tell me which one that you have. So you have number 37. Make sure you put it in the back one. Make it constant. So on next 2 weeks from today, that Wednesday, you're going to be using the same microscope. Sorry, usually when I have this class, we're playing some music and stuff like that, and talking a little bit more through COVID. They're recommending not talking much, so we do it. So again, at least I got you out of the house. Out of the apartment. Some other people. Again, if there's people up in your way and stuff like that, there's a bunch of activities to do. Before you leave, you need to make up a kit of the at-home materials. I will send you the last for that a little bit later. We have roughly about an hour to do this, and we have actually a lecture at 11 o'clock, right? 11 to 12:30. I'll be here on campus. If you live very far away and you won't make it back in a half hour, kind of let me know. I can set you up at a place here on campus to do that. But a lot of it is going to be review. Although you guys did really well on the quiz today. Congratulations. So quiz number 2. I thought it was going to be hard because I was asking you about a bunch of microorganisms. But where it says no oil, don't use oil immersion. They're very big items. You don't go up to a rhinoceros and look at them with a pair of binoculars from 2 feet away. You know, that's kind of what it is. So if it says no oil on the slide, don't do that. You know, and again, don't turn off your brain when you're in the lab or the clinic. If something says don't use this, you don't use it. Also, don't assume, I know that these kind of errors happen all the time. The doctor gives you something. She gives you a vial and say, give the patient 5 cc. You know, she gave you a vial that was 10 times concentrated. You give the patient 5 cc's. That's not the proper term. You give the patient that, and something happens with it. So always check. Always look. Your kid. And hopefully this is far enough. You know, some people do have one end. In COVID, there's no putback. So if you grab a bunch of, you know, try not to grab too much of the paper towels and some of the other things. And that's what we should have here, especially in biomanufacturing. There's no putback. So if you take some chemical, you can't put it back in the bottle. It has to be raised. Look at this. I would really recommend that you go to set that 0, set those are even. And you can go and set this to almost. Yeah, it looks like that will do oil and stuff like that. Yes, sir. No, you just need pictures of what I asked for. But I would, you know, if you want, take pictures of adjusting the condensers and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. So slide and condenser are properly placed to start. So what I'd like you to do is have your slide in there and the condenser all set. Just give me a picture. Wow, there's lots of oil on that. I got to talk to the other class. Again, sometimes it happens. So people, when at the end of the class, they rush for time. They need to get, and I'm, sorry, at 10:30, I'm going to be like, you need to leave. And again, some of the molds and stuff like that, they're really beautiful. So I would recommend it. Again, if you don't finish, you have to have the picture of the mold that we say next. do here, so on this one here, I would shrub down, so the one shrub is up, one shrub is down. You want to be a little bit far away. You go, what you need to do, it's just like looking at a pair of binoculars. And I know I'm 65. So if you look at this, what I can go all the way out, and you're going to see two beams of light. And you're going to move it down so you see one beam of light. You're focusing in on that one beam. You wear glasses or contacts, or okay, so you have good eyesight. So I would assume that both your eyes are the same. So I would go over here to zero diopter, and you have 0. See that line there? It says 0. What this means is both of these are set at the same diopter range. So when you get a prescription for glasses, the doctor says what your prescription. It says that they're both. If you look at it, they're both the same size. That's fine. So in your case, I would do that. And then you're done. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the up here and tell me what the size it is. You're then going to put down the microscope, slide in here, get a picture of it. This thing denser all the way up here. I'd probably put a little bit more light in there. But again, if it's for someone's light that's very easy, the microphone turn down with that. I'm not saying this. Ideally, there are people who make their livings by looking at looking through the microscope all day, so it should be relatively comfortable. Just like your glasses should be comfortable for you. Again, when I've seen people if the not using the microscope right, or you're looking through one eye and stuff like that, you tend to get headaches after a little bit after using the microscope. So you don't want to have that happen. Remember to put the slides back where you found them. All things being equal, some of these microscopes are a little bit in better shape than others. Some of the slides work a little bit better than others. So if somebody gets done, you're having a lot of problems with your slide and your microscope. What you may want to do is force them to keep looking at their microscope. If you get all done, what I suggest that you do is you go around, people want to see it, show them what your bacteria look like. So people cannot have an idea of what they're looking at. All right, we got about 45 minutes. What is it about? It's out of focus, but I'd go up to the next tower call. You want to see the mycelium in there. And I may be far away from it. That's at your 40x total magnetization. Yes. But penicillin is pretty big. You should be able to start to see stuff in there. So just to give you a time point, is have about 45 minutes left in class. You should be done sanitizing your microscope. You should be done kind of adjusting your intraocular space. If you're having problems looking at your intraocular space and your neural doctor, kind of raise your hand and I can come through and help you with that. Again, I would say 10 minutes activity to basically look at something bigger than bacteria. That should give you a full half hour to look at your bacteria. This is the Wednesday biology AA section, validation. How hard these guys are. Look at how compliant to both the mandates they are. Thank you very much, class. Yes, sir. Yes. You only add the oil when you're looking at the 100X. Try that now. That's in focus for me. Maybe a little bit different, but try it. Okay. All right. So what you can do is look around, and you're going to make this point, especially at the beginning. You don't know what the stuff should really kind of look like. And actually, when you did it, I think what you had in focus was a little string, that black piece of string on top. What you really want is to green stuff down. Down below. Sorry, guys, I'm a scientist and I doubt everything, so you may say, oh, I biology class. You know, and until you show me you can use a microscope, I'm like, that's great. Yeah, and it's been a while and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, let me take a few minutes or an hour. It doesn't happen in my class, but I've had some people take the microbiology class, and at the very end, I subbed for another class. Turns out they didn't know how to use a microscope at the end of microbiology. I do not let that happen.
So I'm looking at spores. Oh, and I clicked on the already.
Okay. So I told you not to look at bacteria first, and that they're going to be hard. Bacterial spores are even smaller than bacteria. Here, let me take a look and see. Give me a picture. What did it look like under 4X?
4X?
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, but I need to have it clear for me. What I'm going to say, go get some of the molds on there, and you're more likely this is going to be difficult to look at. Sorry, these are one of these mistakes. So I asked you not to look at the bacteria, so she's looking at bacterial spores. Which you're right, letter, that's not bacteria, that's bacterial spores. But bacterial spores are even harder to see than bacteria because they're smaller. They come from bacteria. Let's take a look at something large, like the rhizopus, red mold. Also, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's my camera." No, it's you being, try and get it in focus. The great thing about it, if you're like, "Oh, my camera doesn't get in focus," you can actually adjust your microscope correctly, so it's a little bit out of focus, so it makes up for the camera out of focus. Yes, ma'am. Focus my eyes. A little better. That's spirogyra. So the rods and the chloroplasts in there are shaped like little spirals. Kind of see not in the And you want to blame it on the technology. Okay, go ahead. Go to the next slide. You'll get some better pictures at the higher end. But what we want to do, these are parafocal and paracentric. So we get one of those pieces of fire right in the middle, and then you know it will be there. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so that's at the 40x. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so what you're doing is, I want to try and look in there. So you want to try and look in this area of stuff inside of there. What? Yeah, so I would look in that area there for it. This is going to be a little bit too dense to look at stuff. So what I would do is go up to the next higher magnification. Because it's paracentral, what's going to happen is when you magnify, you're just going to be looking at this area here. You're not going to really see anything. So what I would do is move it down a little bit to this area, this kind of light green area in here, and focus in on that. Okay? That looks good. That's a good start. That's a good start. Yeah. Go up to the next higher magnification. Yeah, I would focus a little bit more on that area there. Yes, sir. So, show me a picture. I don't want to look through that. Again, it can be when your sample is so large, it's hard to get large things in focus. When you get too close, it's hard to get things in focus. The other thing is that 40x stack can be dirty. You may need to wipe it off. Okay. So what I would do is take your lens paper and try and wipe off that 40x lens. Yeah, you can try and focus on those smaller pieces. Okay, I'd suggest that you take about another 5 minutes during this practice. And then after that, we need to go on to the bacteria. Remember, the bacteria are going to be a lot harder to see. So as long as you've got it on focus under 4x objective, the 10x objective, and the 40x objective, I'd say just go on to the bacteria. All those samples you don't want to look at under oil immersion because, again, like I said, it's like going 2 feet from a rhinoceros and looking at it through binoculars. You're not going to be able to see. Sorry, there's a question over here. Yes. So what Celia's saying over here is this, you're looking at it, especially those big samples, that you have a depth of field. And so you may notice that when you are in your house, you're looking out your front door, you're looking through a screen door. If you focus in on these things far away, you don't see the screen. Yet if you go and you focus in on the screen, you don't see those things that are far away. So you have this big old depth of field. So the higher the magnification that you go, the smaller your depth of field is. So if you have a very thick sample, it's going to be hard to see through it all. Great thing is new microscopes. You can actually take pictures at those depths of field, and then you can stitch them together with your computer, and then you have a 3D image. That's how they get those 3D images. And I wish we actually have a microscope that's capable of doing that in the other room. And if we had time in the class, we would use that. Sorry. But if anyone wants to do a research project and try and do it, that'd be fun. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So for this one here, for this chart, I want the bacteria. And you can use oil when you use bacteria. This is just practice. That looks great. It's well in focus. So you see the sporangia in here. You see the hyphae and stuff. That's real well, and that's a good focus on that. Yes. So again, looking at the modes, the rhizopus, all that stuff, that's practice. Definitely get the pictures, but I don't need those pictures. What I want pictures of is the bacteria. But again, I recommend taking those other pictures because if you can't take the pictures of the bacteria, then you can say, well, Nick, I wasn't able to look at the bacteria, but here, I can use the microscope. I got a really good shot of rhizopus at 40x. Okay, I see people are starting to work on their bacteria one now. I would hold your slide up to the light, make sure that your slide is clean, and then you should be able to see a little dot where the stain is, where the bacteria will stain. And then that's where you're going to look at. If you look at another part of the slide, you're not really going to see anything. This is also one of those cases, if you just wipe it off with the paper towels, you're going to get a lot of fibers on there. And, you know, you're going to mistake the fiber. Say, hey, Nick, I saw this bacteria, really cool. It looks like a fiber. And I'm going to be like, that is a fiber. So it's almost 10 o'clock. We have about a half hour left to do the activity. Yes, sir. What's that a photo of? I think it's algae. So you show me your photo. Show me your photos. Right. And so we see the nice little spirals. That's actually really done. So this one here, it's a filamentous algae, and the chloroplasts are spirals. It's next spiral jar. Yeah. So this is where you get that depth of field thing. Yeah. So the spirogyra is roughly about, it's roughly about 200 micrometers across, and then your field of view is roughly about 100 micrometers. So you're going to have this important. You know, when you get one part in focus, the other part's out of focus. Okay. All right. So the idea behind this is we really didn't want you to use oil on it. Right? Okay. But no, those are good shots. Do the same thing with bacteria, and you're done. Yes, ma'am. Well, what's your sample? What are you looking at? Okay, that's a spirogyra. From the spirogyra is filamentous, so it's going to look like that. So that's at 4x. Let's look to the next higher magnification. It may be fiber, the spirogyra aren't that long, and that loop that the fiber has in there, spirogyra doesn't usually do that. And the spirogyra, they're algae, they're in their stained green. So it should be kind of green. That kind of looks like fiber. So what I would say here, let's move on now, and I'll show you kind of real quick. What I would do, let this spot, put it kind of right in the middle. See that green? See how you look at this? Go to the next time. It's not centered. Here, let's see. Sorry.
It seemed like there's like a fingerprint instead of a smudge mark.
Yeah. All right, so here's one of the problems that we have is that this slide is of the bacteria, and it's really hard to see the bacterial stain. Although, you know what? In this kind of light, I barely see it. So, do you have a Sharpie? Do you know what a Sharpie is? I'll be right back.
What are you looking at? What are you looking at?
Let's see.
Really? There's like no dot or anything?
There's no dot.
I'm looking at the spores. for like a regular bacteria, but like everyone like it's super hard to look at this one. I don't know. Is this
So I drew a circle, and in the middle of that circle, you can just barely see the stain.
or is that the
All right? Look at it, see, do you see it?
one second? Like that one.
It's hard. It's hard. I'm not asking you to do an easy thing. It's hard. So you guys are gonna walk around here. I'll get to everyone. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wondering if that's what I'm supposed to be looking at.
What are you looking at?
Bacillus.
Maybe. I'm gonna pull it out real quick. Maybe. It's kind of one of those things where you got to go. You can't, at that magnification, you can't see it. You look around for it, try and see if you see it, and go up to the next higher magnification. You should be able to see something at the higher magnification. Sorry, I probably messed it up. Go back and find that again. I got you. Any questions? No, that looks like dust on the top of the slide. But at this magnification, you're not going to be able to see anything. So go up to the next side. What you want to do is you want to get in the focal plane. So what I would do is go, okay, that's about the focal plane right there. Move around so you can get in, and then go up to the next higher magnification. Yes, sir. So this is the sample of the bacteria. So it's only been 5 minutes and you're giving up. So what I would do is look at this. Okay, so I think right in this area right here, you kind of see it. This is kind of really smudged. You want to get rid of all those smudges. What are you using my stuff for? You're going to my lab and grabbing stuff?
I take your stuff rather than mine because when it breaks, then it's yours.
Oh, okay. All right, you guys, this is Marco. He's the tech up in the Fab Lab. If you were here, the Fab Lab would be open on Mondays and Fridays. And you can go up there and use the laser printers and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Oh, but we have a laser cutter. I think we have a laser scraper too, don't we?
No, but we have to see.
Yeah, but it hasn't been working in what, like a year? Turn it down the light a little bit. The great thing about the piece of dust is it lets you know that you're looking at the slide and where you're at on the slide. So I cleaned it off a little bit, put it in there, but what you may need to do is go up to the next higher magnification. Take a picture of a piece of dust. But then, tell me, say, Nick, this is a piece of dust, but I'm just focusing on here. What's the magnification on that? So yeah, so when you get your oil, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so you can see the filaments and stuff like that. So you're gonna look it. You're gonna put a drop of oil in there and put the next one out. All right, so he's almost done. So what you're going to be looking at is you have your sample.
The lowest magnification. I think so. I mean, it looks like
Should I look
it.
at this or should I look at the thing in the bottom?
Man, I can't even find
Which
that.
one of those next two of you is my sample?
Maybe try looking at it on a higher power. Yeah.
Because
I accidentally did this one first. I thought it makes it. Yeah.
So these guys are stained, so I would go for that red dot.
It's gonna look something like this. Just like slightly bigger.
Yeah. What does that look like? Looks like a hair. Yeah. Or an eyelash, whatever. It's a nice picture though, it's in focus and stuff. Sorry, I'm gonna be going around and getting people, if you have a question. Questions for what? No, sorry, I gotta give everyone equal time. Just giving opportunities. What's going on? Yeah. You want to wipe it off a little bit more. You have a lens, you have one paper on there. Well, I would assume looking right at the middle. Okay, good. Good. I would go right at the middle. Okay, sorry, you're here. All right, so some of you guys here, the people who made these slides are actually really good. And a big mistake that a lot of beginning microbiologist students make is they put a whole bunch of bacteria on there, in which case you're not able to see something. So what they did, when they made these slides, they smeared everything out kind of real good in the middle. But the trouble is you're looking at something. You guys remember what's the resolution of the human eye? 0.1 millimeter. So a millimeter is equal to 100 micrometers. Okay? These bacteria are roughly about 1 micrometer across. So they are really, really, really small. So you can't see it. So what you would do is you go in there, what I would do is kind of look for a piece of dust, and then you know that you're in roughly the right focal frame. Then you go up to the next higher magnification. And it's kind of like seeing somebody, somebody's way on the other side of the parking lot end that you guys were in. Somebody's way on the other side, and they're there walking their dog, but you just kind of see one thing. You get a little bit closer, then you're able to see kind of the dual images. So it's okay. I know with the 4x objective, you're really not going to be able to see much. Go up to the next higher power, and then you can be able to see it. You can't see it there, then go up to the next higher power and see if you can see it there. If that's the case, then call me over and I can kind of help you with it. You should be able to start to see something at the 100x total magnification. Yes, ma'am.
So, as I went up to higher
magnification,
this is
Yeah.
really?
Actually, no. So that's actually a thick piece of the stain.
Oh,
And what you may want to do is turn down the light a little bit and see if you can see stuff that's around it.
okay.
And why are you so interested in the spores one? Don't do spores. Do something else.
Oh, well, okay.
Okay. Or you can do the spores. That's fine. You're a good microscopist. Yes.
No, that's fine. That's your bacteria. That's great. So what you do is take a picture, put the slide back, or show people what you got, and ask if somebody else wants a slide. So you guys we have our first student done. 10 minutes. That's great. I'll be right over there. If you want to use this slide, please give the slide to somebody else. Put it back up.
Question: does this look like what I'm supposed to be looking at?
What's the magnification?
4D.
Yeah, that looks like a good start.
Okay.
You're in the area that it should be there.
Try wiping this off. Just come off. So if there's oil on it, you have to wipe off the oil. So you guys, the oil immersion only works on the 1000X. If you want to go back and refocus your slide, you need to wipe off the oil on the lens as well as the slide before you go back and look at it again. Let me get these, I'm doing my thing.
Okay, I have the resource and then I just want to put it on the same and it looks on the wall. So I'm not sure about that one. Like every bacteria. And then the other ones say like no oil on it. So how am I supposed to do that? Yeah.
Selfie, cool.
Okay, let's check it.
Even the thousands.
Connects. So there can be a couple of things if you're looking at the wrong focal plane that will do it. It could also be that your lenses are dirty, so you need to go through there and make sure that they're really clean. So you're at the. Okay, so that looks great. So that's report. So you're saying when you go to the 40. Bump up the light a little bit, and it looks like this, a lot of these are what we call parafocal and paracentric. You see this, a little bit defined focus now. Sometimes it's a little bit further away. So what I did is I looked a little bit further away. Look at that.
The next one's
So the sample you're looking at, what kind of microorganism is this? You guys always pick the hard ones. Yeah, she's almost done. I would take hers, but you're right in the spot. Try it, because that tells me you're really good, or you are really good if you're able to take a look at this. And you, at this magnification, you're kind of right in the spot that you want. No, does it say that? Well, it's on the slide. Somebody put it in the wrong spot. So you can do oil on it, unless it says no oil on it, on the slide. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Well, I have a guy who's supposed to come in and install the So I'm not gonna have a class in there. But you can go ahead and use it just to move stuff up on the tables and stuff if you want. He'll kind of be working on the side. No, he won't disturb you. And then, like I said, he's not there right now. So I'm worried that he's not showing up. Oh, yeah. No, you're not going to. As long as he won't, because you're just kind of doing lab stuff. That's what more about cities. Yeah, so he's not like, out of culture here. Yeah, I gotta do right after this, I gotta do a lab, I gotta do a lecture. I'll come by and see you. Any questions over here?
So I got a new slide about the bacteria because I was trying to explain this. Is this what I'm supposed to be seeing at the lowest station?
Again, the lowest magnification is going to be hard to see something. You focused in on a piece of red dye, which indicates that you're probably in the right focal point. So what you need to do is go up to take a picture of it, go up to the next higher magnification. How's it going? Is that under oil? Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Question? I'm asking the other question. I'm trying to be. But that's at this magnification? Yeah. Yeah, that's about what you should see at that magnification. What you may want to do is move one of these pumps to the very middle. And then go higher. What's up? Monotrichous filaments. What do you think that means? What did it say? So bacteria have a flagella, and this is the flagella that's stained. So not only are you trying to look at something that's hard, which is bacteria, but you're trying to look at something that's even smaller than bacteria, the flagella. I'd recommend, I don't know why my tech put that out there. I think he's just trying to torture me. Find another side that says bacteria, either gram-stained bacteria or bacterial mix. Yeah. Yes. Let me see your final one. That looks good. So those of you who I'm checking off and I say it looks good, it looks like you have all the materials to hand in. I'm not promising that you have the final results, but if you feel comfortable with your results and you want to leave, you should have enough to do that. So again, please don't say, Nick, you gave me a 5 out of 10 on this one, and you said it looked good. And I'm like, well, you know, the final saying is mine, but you know, again, you're the one who feels okay with it. So you're going to see stuff a lot easier with hers. Hers pretty good. So again, people who do stuff, what I want you to do is maybe kind of raise your hand if somebody wants to use your slide. Please raise your hand, show them what you saw. Don't give them your picture, but show them what you saw and give them your slide. Okay, that's looking like it. So this is the top of bacteria formation. Yeah, it should be roughly in that. Okay, we got about 10 minutes. Looking at the usual fuzzy hairs in there. Let me take a look. Does anyone else have a question real quick? So if somebody wants to take a look, I will go through her slide kind of real quick. If somebody wants to take a look at me, no, please don't do that. Wrap it around and put it in. All right, so number one, let's find something else. So this is the looking at the flagella. Remember, what's a flagella? You know what sperm looks like? Okay, that little wavy tail, that's the flagella. And so the flagella is going to be even smaller than the bacteria. So, okay.
When you went to the 400 magnification, finger. But it was like super blurry. Maybe the brightness.
I'm pissed off. I
Yeah,
am.
I tried. And then, oh really? Yeah, mine is kind of blurry. Then I don't want to put like oil on. Yeah, I know. I just put the oil on. But I mean, I think as long as he sees it. Yeah.
I see some red dye kind of up in the water here, so I'm probably.
You finished, right? This looks okay with the hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just took it like more than one picture.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe like mess with the microscope. That's how it's pretty good.
And then they have to get checked off, right? Or
I would just
Just
show
in
that
case, yeah.
to make sure.
what did you look at?
I was looking at. Getting the picture too, like you putting the oil on.
Oh yeah, I got
Kind of a
that.
little red dot.
Thanks.
So at this magnification, I'm not going to see bacteria, but you can see big clumps of bacteria. Or sometimes what you'll see is when they stain it, sometimes the stain gets clumpy. So like when gravy gets too clumpy and stuff like that. And so that tells you what focal plane. So that tells you you're in the right focal plane. So what I'm going to do is just go up to the next higher magnification, and I should be able to see it. So go ahead and take a look through there and tell me if you see that clump. Okay, should be a little bit very clear. I'm getting in focus. You want to center it, get it in focus. Okay, you're gonna go on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go help some other people, but you're kind of well anyway. You may wanna go back and get the picture at 4x and do this. We got about 5 minutes left. So, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Yes, ma'am. Well, let me go through these guys and I'll come up. Sorry. The question's over here. Question's over here. Question's over here. You're done. You're looking like you're getting done. The list, the checklist for all of these is located up on the board up there. To make sure that you take a picture of it and go through the checklist. Those are the Petri plates, yes. You want 5 of those. Do you have a question, ma'am?
I just wanted to double check to see if this is okay.
Is that under oil?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Okay, so I went up to the 400.
That means that your lens is dirty. So try cleaning again. Sometimes you get to a point where it just won't happen. So what you may want to do is you're in your field, put the oil on it, take a look at it under oil immersion. Sometimes you can kind of skip it. If it's not in focus, sometimes you can skip it. I'd rather you not. But you got like 5 minutes left. So why don't you go, try and wipe it, try and look at it. If it doesn't do it, just go over to the oil. You're done. Done wiping stuff off. And you don't know what I'm doing here. So where you at? Which one are you? You're still doing the first one. Is that under oil? Woo! You're done. Looks good. Oh, I shouldn't say you're done. It looks like you have everything that you need in order to complete the task today. Yeah, you guys want to give it an insight, but that looks adequate. Guys, we got about 5 minutes, and I'm going to start kicking you guys out. So you want to get set. If you are not done, that's okay. Get all the pictures and stuff that you can. Start cleaning up and go. I have a lecture, and I have a vendor that I got to see. So I got to go. But I'll give you about 5 more minutes. Make sure that you wash your hands.
Make sure that you wipe down your microscope. Make sure that you wipe down your area. It's common courtesy. Play it forward. But ideally what should happen is that every scope, every surface should have been wiped down twice before you use it. And that's just a label for the nature fire. Okay, this is Nick Kep, the validation lab, signing out. You guys in the validation lab, you want to say goodbye? Goodbye. Rough.